The storm came out of nowhere. Waves slammed against the coast, lightning tore across the sky, and the sound of an engine sputtering above made every head turn upward. Then, the unthinkable, a private jet spiraled down toward the dark ocean. Most people froze. But one man didn't. Daniel Hayes, a single dad and former rescue diver, didn't think twice. He tossed off his jacket and dove straight into the roaring surf, his heart hammering louder than the thunder. Somewhere beneath those waves, someone was still alive, and he wasn't about to let another soul drown. By morning, the small coastal town would be buzzing with news of what happened that night. But nobody, not even Daniel himself, could have guessed what the rescue would lead to, or how 3 black Cadillacs showing up outside his home would change his life forever. The waves were brutal, the current pulling hard against him, but Daniel pushed on, kicking furiously, his flashlight cutting through the murky water. He spotted the shattered remains of the small jet, its cabin door half open, bubbles still rising from the inside. Through the cracked window, he saw movement, a woman in a torn red dress, unconscious, seatbelt jammed, hair floating like silk in the dark. He took a deep breath, smashed through the window with a rescue tool, and yanked the buckle free. She was heavier than he expected. Her belly told him she was pregnant. God, please don't let me be too late. He grabbed her by the waist and pulled her toward the light above. When they broke the surface, Daniel gasped for air and dragged her to his small rescue boat anchored nearby. He performed CPR, over and over, until finally, she coughed, a fragile, shivering sound that made him nearly cry in relief. "You're safe," he whispered, wrapping her in a thermal blanket. "You're gonna be okay." But she wasn't just anyone. Her name was Olivia Wren, billionaire CEO of Wren Tech, one of the most powerful women in the country. News reports later said her jet lost control during a storm en route to a private island retreat. Her security team hadn't even located the wreck yet when Daniel had already pulled her from the depths. He didn't care who she was. All he knew was that she was alive, and that was enough. By the time the Coast Guard arrived, Daniel was exhausted. He answered their questions quietly, refused interviews, and walked home in his soaked clothes. His little daughter, Emma, was waiting on the porch, wrapped in her pink blanket. "Daddy, you smell like the ocean," she said, giggling sleepily. He smiled and scooped her up. "I had to go swimming for a good reason." That night, he tucked her in, made himself a cup of coffee, and looked out at the endless dark sea. He had no idea that the woman he saved had already sent her people looking for him. The next morning, the rumble of engines woke the neighborhood. 3 sleek black Cadillacs rolled up Daniel's cracked driveway, their polished frames gleaming under the morning sun. Daniel stepped outside, still in his worn jacket, confused. From the first car stepped a tall man in a black suit, holding a folder. Behind him, 2 other men stood guard, and then, from the third car, Olivia Wren herself emerged, now very much awake, dressed elegantly despite her injuries. Daniel froze. "You shouldn't be up," he said. Olivia smiled faintly. "I'm alive because of you. I wasn't going to wait another day to thank you." She gestured to the cars. "These belong to you now. And there's more. I've arranged for your daughter's education, your debts cleared, and a position at Wren Tech's safety division if you'll take it." Daniel blinked, speechless. He had saved people before, but no one had ever shown him this kind of gratitude. He didn't even know how to respond. "Ma'am," he said finally, "I didn't do it for anything. I just couldn't let you die." "I know," Olivia replied softly. "That's why you deserve everything." But that wasn't the end. Over the weeks that followed, Daniel's life transformed. His old truck was replaced, his house repaired, and his story spread across the country, the single dad who saved a billionaire. Reporters tried to reach him, but he stayed humble, focused on Emma and his new role improving air safety systems. What few people knew was that Olivia stayed in touch. She'd visit sometimes, not as a billionaire, but as a friend, someone who saw in Daniel something money could never buy: courage, humility, and kindness. Months later, as Emma played in the yard and Daniel stood watching the sunset, Olivia joined him quietly. "Funny how one night can change everything," she said. Daniel smiled. "Maybe it doesn't change who we are, just reminds us who we were meant to be." She looked at him for a long moment, then nodded. "You saved my life, Daniel. But in a way, I think you saved mine twice." He didn't understand what she meant, not fully, but he didn't need to. Because in that quiet moment, watching his daughter laugh and the sea glimmer gold under the evening light, Daniel realized something he hadn't felt in years. Peace. And somewhere far behind them, the waves whispered against the shore, the same waves that had once threatened to take a life, now carrying the story of a man who gave everything for a stranger and found something greater in return.